Kill the robot.
Hello everyone, Kirk here with Kirk's Motorrad shop out in Crystal Lake, Illinois. Bringing you a unique video today. This is going to be on this engine here. This is the K1200 engine. This engine came out of a K1200 GT that came into the shop with one of the worst engine knocks I've ever heard. I think I have a little sound file here of when this thing was running. So anyways, as you could hear, this engine didn't sound good at all, so I just recommended that we go ahead and replace the engine. There was no saving this one, and in my diagnostics, before I took this engine out, I figured out what had happened. So the previous owner of this bike, he must have changed the oil out and didn't reach up in there and check the oil filter to make sure that that rubber ring came out of the engine. It didn't, and I think the guy double gasketed it, or put another oil filter right on top of the old gasket. It had a tremendous loss of oil pressure, and it started causing damage in the engine. Well, it threw on the engine light, or it threw on the, not the engine light, but the oil pressure sensor light, and the guy must have thought, well, hey, I already changed the oil. Can't be that problem. It must be a defective sensor. So he just disconnected the oil pressure sensor and kept riding it. Well, it created such a problem. The guy sold the bike to this the gentleman that purchased the bike, brought it to me because it actually locked up on the highway. It started knocking and carrying on so bad that the engine just stopped. It just locked up, and he was able to get the thing freed up enough so he could ride it home. Brought the bike out here to me on a trailer, and yeah, I pulled out the oil filter. I found the other ring that was inside there. The oil looked just like glitter. It was a tremendous mess. So what I'm going to do here, this is basically an autopsy of this engine. This engine is not going to be saved. I'm not going to rebuild this engine. It's done. But I am going to take it apart, and we can learn from not only what happened to the engine, which I think we all know, the bearings are gone, and it's probably banged up in the cylinders, but we can also take a look at these parts to see how they're put together, what makes them tick, and in this case, what makes it knock, and yeah, we'll go about it here. But before I get going on this, I just want to say, if you do like this kind of video and you like the work that I do here, please consider supporting me down in the links below there, whether it's through purchasing things off of my Amazon page, or if you want to help support me on a monthly basis via my Patreon channel or Patreon channel. There's a way to do that right down in the links below, and I would love to have that support. But regardless, I'm taking apart this engine, and it's starting right now. Like somebody maybe had been in here before. Alright, there's the cover. It's a nice cover. It's in nice shape. It's in real good condition. Thing has like no scratches or anything on it. It definitely has some metal particles down in the pan here. Definitely some chunks. See already that I'm going to have a lot of tools out. Some of you out there are probably wondering, how many miles did this thing have on it? Well, to be honest, it wouldn't even matter if it had 4 miles on it, but I think it had 40,000. Anytime you run a machine without oil, as you know, you're going to have some problems. Somebody glued this thing on there like in every single possible place. There it goes. My goodness, was that hard. Really is a shame, because I think the thing overall is in good condition. But it's not worth rebuilding this. For those of you who are thinking, oh, maybe you should just put some new bearings in it. just put some new bearings in it and let her rip, but I don't think so. I think that the bearings, the fact that the engine locked up, that's not a good thing. Anytime you have things become so loose inside that it actually locks up, well, you got real serious issues. Somebody really didn't want this thing to leak. There is no reason for somebody to put this much sealant on one of these. You guys don't put sealant on the backside and on the outside unless you're never expecting to ever take it off again. You can reuse these gaskets, but this one with this much silicone and crap on here, nope. Yeah, look at all that white on there. That's terrible. That's a real shame. It's going to go right in the garbage. There we go. I'm going to pull off this cover. I guess I'll remove the water inlet here first. Kind of like this water jacket. This is a nice one. This is a metal one. I like that. Normally they're plastic, and if you lower the engine down too far and this is still connected to the radiators, it can actually put so much pressure on it that it'll crack. It'll usually crack them right here. So yeah, that's a pretty nice one. I'll keep that around. Alright, let's remove the cover here. This is for the hall sensor. There's our hall sensor right there. Now I'm going to try to save the hall sensor because there's no reason not to. It absolutely was working. For those of you guys, if you have never changed out one, these at least have a little mark on there so you can line everything up correctly. And yeah, it makes it a lot easier to change these out if you need to. There's the hall sensor right there. So, just a little thing to note on the hall sensor. It does have one bare wire, and that's very normal. You can see, you should be able to make out in this video, on these wires there's little cracks forming right here, and those you gotta have to kind of be aware of. Maybe cover them up with some, if you want to reuse this, cover it up with some like liquid electric tape or something so that all of the insulation doesn't come off. If the insulation starts to break off and these wires touch each other, it's going to cause problems with running your bike, that's for sure. These are the wires right here that go down to the oil sensor as well as the temperature sensor. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove all of these screws around here, or the bolts I should say. There's the chain tensioner on the back side of it right there. Here's the other part of the chain tensioner. Goes down inside there like that. And it's all full of metal chunks. That's great. So metal chunks have been traveling around this engine for a while. Now, I didn't really care too much about this this seal that's right here, but this seal here would have to get changed if this engine were to go back together. So here is, the chain system. Right here is your chain guides, the ones that would get changed out, potentially get changed out if you decide to do that on your bike. A lot of you guys have asked if I ever done this, changed out these guides. I have not actually. I've never had to change one. Even on my own bike that has over 120,000 miles on it, they still look great. So despite what BMW says that you're supposed to change these out after a certain amount of time, these really are not. That's really not the case on these things. If you change your oil regular, when I pull this apart, we'll be able to check them to see just how worn out they are. And I didn't really try to do this, but this engine is in top dead center. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off right now, and then I'll pull these out. So some of this black soot kind of stuff on here, that is probably from the oil filter when it was not operating correctly. Little C-clip. Alright, here's the top one. There's absolutely no wear whatsoever on it. There's my chain. More parts. Washer on there. Pull that one off. This is the one that we want to look at the most because it's where it's pushing against there. So all I can see is it's got just a tiny scuff. Hopefully the lights in here are not reflecting on it too hard. But there's a little scuff right there on the end. I can't even really feel it. Now I got gloves on, but other than that, it looks great. There's no wear whatsoever. None that I can perceive. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these cams out of here. I don't see anything overly worn out here on the cam. Sure, it's just how they do it at the factory. Alright, a little scuff there. Tips are understandably polished. Alright, what's next? Let's take the pump off. It's kind of nice when you have it just sitting on the bench. It makes it a lot easier to work on, doesn't it? Yeah, so here's your oil pressure sender, and this guy had it in this condition right here. It was off. All it needed to be was hooked up, and then they would have seen, oh, hey, there's a real problem there. Some more of the oil is coming out. This is the oil pump slash water pump. So the water pump's on the front side, oil pump's on the back side. Start removing bolts and hopefully it'll come all apart. So I'll pull the water temperature sensor out of there. You never know when you might need one of those in your spare parts. I've actually never seen one of these go bad, but they probably do. It still has the washer on it, so I'll save that. I'm going to pull off the cover now. Now I'm thinking about it. I think this maybe came off of an RS. But it doesn't matter what it came off of, to be honest. Oh yeah. Look at all that wonderful stuff right there. Oh, that's just not what you ever want to see in your engine. Oh, there's just big chunks in there. Next I'm gonna go ahead and pull the clutch carrier off, as well as this cover right here. The intermediate housing, that's called. That's a first. One of the first pliable O-rings I've ever found on these things. I think it's starting to move. There it goes. Wow, that was really stuck on there bad. No rear main seal leak at all on this one. Maybe somebody had changed it before. So this is your starter clutch, or the Sprague clutch, as they are called. This is the idler gear. This is the one that goes to the starter. This is the one that goes on the starter itself. And it has this little spring plate behind it. It only goes one way. If you get this in backwards, it will just wreck it. So we don't put these in backwards, but you can see it's just a small little spring plate. You can see it's got a little bit of a spring there to it. The spring is going to spring. You got to make sure, if you do have to take one of these out, that you put it in correctly. And then this is the starter clutch. You just grab it and pull it out. There's your starter clutch. They only rotate in one direction, so if the engine is running, this thing, as I'm turning this, it's a little bit, I can feel there's metal in there, a little bit of crunchy. But turns in this direction, and then when the starter kicks on, it locks up. See? Only goes in one direction. Couple bolts down the bottom. And there's the big drive line. If you guys are ever curious what that looked like. Okay, next I will take off the head. What the hell size is that? I think one of you guys need to hold this for me. Got some carbon there, but not real bad at all. Actually, it looks pretty good. Take out the crank. I'm going to drop the pistons out of it, have a look at them, and then pull out the crank. Then we should have just a naked block at that point. This is where the real damage is going to show up. And all these caps are going to be shot. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that's just a mess. Actually, the bearing fell right out of it. Oh, I got too many tools out. Oh yeah, that's number 3. I mean, look at that thing; it's a mess. That is just, it's rough. It's just wiped out. Number 4. That one actually looks pretty good. That one didn't suffer too bad. Oh yeah. There's another one. Looks pretty worn out. The number 1 should be the worst. Come on. Oh, there's no bearing at all. Yeah. The bearing is completely gone. Yeah, they look great. Fantastic. This one's got a little minor wear on it. You can see it right back here. Very minor though, I mean it wouldn't even concern me. This one's got a little more wear. But not terrible. Just, that's barely anything. It's surprising just how good this is. Alright. See, one of the bearings are on there still. There's what's left of the bearing. It's only wafer thin. No wonder the thing was running so hard and locked up on the road. I do think that it would have been salvageable had the guy caught it. There's the other piece of that bearing inside that piston. Gosh. Well, that's about as thin as it gets. Yeah. That's a shame. Alright. Last thing on this video, we're going to pull the pistons out and have a look at them. Oh boy. There's another piece of bearing. There's the number 1 piston. Oh yeah, pretty gouged up. Get a rag here. You can see that really is just scratched up hard. It's pretty good marks in that one. I'm not going to press all these pins out of here. There's no reason to do that. Number 2. Number 2 looks pretty good. Not bad at all. Looks like number 1 suffered the hardest. Number 3. Looks like brand new. Not bad at all. Last one, number 4. Yeah, that looks great. Compare them to number 1 here. You can see those scratches, those just really gouged up bad. These rings would be shot, everything would be just wrecked on it. We'll see what we can see in the cylinder if I get a flashlight behind it. A lot of good crosshatch in there still. That's in number 4 though. You probably see the lines this way on this. It's got a real nice crosshatch pattern still, but that would definitely start smoking. So there it is, and there's my bench. One big mess. That's a lot of parts. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions or any comments, put them down below. And for those of you guys out there that would say, oh, I would rebuild that thing. No, you wouldn't. No, I don't agree. There's no reason to rebuild these when there are so many of these out there that are in good shape still, and you can just put them right in your bike and keep going. There is no sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever to rebuild these things. I mean, if something like, say, like this Sprague clutch goes out, yeah, go ahead, put a Sprague clutch in it. So anyway, guys, I hope you got something out of this. Again, check out those links down in the description below, or if you're on your phone, look for the comments section, and then you'll be able to find ways in which you can help support the work that I do. Hope you enjoyed it. And guys, thanks so much for watching. I will see you on the next one.